Hi everyone, my name is Brian and my mentor is Atharv, and I'm presenting from California. We chose to research the effects of limb angles and ground contact times on sprinting using pose estimation and machine learning. As a high school track and field athlete, I spent a lot of time wondering what makes a sprinter so fast. I wanted to figure out why athletes like Usain Bolt, Asaf Pal, and Tyson Gay were so much faster than the average athlete. So I used data science to compare high schoolers and professionals. We decided to use pose estimation to capture limb angles and also use Python to calculate ground-to-air ratios, which we will get to later. To collect video data, we decided to follow Altus Kinogram's MVP stance to pick specific video frames. The MVP stance is characterized by the maximal vertical height projection at top speed for sprinters, and is characterized by both feet being parallel to the ground as seen in the diagram. For the angle metrics, we decided the important angles to be measured were the knees, hips, shoulders, and elbows, front and back, for all angles. The angles are color-coded and circled in the picture to the right. To collect these videos, we first spliced video footage into individual frames, and then we selected individual frames for analysis. This picture right here is an example. These pictures were then cropped and manually painted over to help the pose estimation model better capture the runner, and then we put the frame through the pose estimation model to capture the angles, and those angles were entered onto a spreadsheet. Once we did this process for all our high school and professional athletes, we plotted all the leg angles onto histograms, where we saw some major differences in professional and high school athletes. The model did have some issues when differentiating between left and right angles, so ignoring far outliers, professional athletes tended to have tighter, more constricted angles consistently in all four aspects. Looking at the graphs then, we can see that professional athletes tend to have higher front leg lifts because of a tighter angle in the front hip, and they also strike the ground better as their front knee is angled to hit the ground at 90 degrees, causing more vertical force, which is crucial in sprinting. Professional athletes also tend to cycle their legs faster as their back limbs also have tighter angles. The back hip angles of professional athletes being larger actually means that their back leg has cycled faster than high school athletes, and the back knee tended to have a tighter angle in general. Moving on, we also compared the ground to air ratios of specifically high school athletes with their average split times during a workout. The ground to air ratio was calculated by dividing the number of frames in a video recording which an athlete was on the ground by the number of frames that the athlete was fully in the air. Observing the histogram, we saw that high school athletes tended to stay in the air slightly longer than they did on the ground in general. And comparing those ratios to average split times through a linear regression graph, we saw a positive correlation in splits and ratios. A lower ground to air ratio generally meant a faster speed achieved. We then compared the limb angles and ground to air ratios to the average split times of high school athletes with multiple models, multiple linear regression, random forest regression, and XGBoost regression. Using the mean absolute errors and mean squared errors of all the models, we found that the random forest model was the most accurate in determining what factors affected sprint speed the most. However, we compared feature important lists of both the random forest model and the XGBoost model, and two very different lists came out. We saw that the random forest model in light blue favored the ground-to-air ratios most when determining sprint speed, and the XGBoost model in dark blue favored the front hips and elbows the most. In conclusion, we decided that many factors played into determining sprint speed, such as getting off the ground fast and keeping the front hips high at top speed. But ultimately, the fastest athletes come from years of hard work and dedication to the sport. This project was really fun, but there were some improvements that could be made. The project used a very small data set, so if a larger data set were given, more accurate results could be produced. Higher quality footage could also be collected, and a more accurate model for pose estimation could also lead to better results. Atharv and I found the study as an enjoyable but also challenging experience, and it taught me a lot about research and data science. Thank you all for listening.